Chapter 26. Third-person POV. Benimaru stood at the front, his crimson eyes burning with fury as he raised his katana, hell flare coiling around the blade like a serpent eager to strike. Beside him, Hekiro's eyes gleamed with lethal precision, his sword held in a stance so perfect it seemed untouchable. Soei's clones flickered across the battlefield, striking like ghosts, while Ranga growled, his fur bristling with crackling lightning. Geld, towering over them all, clenched his fists, his iron-like skin already smeared with the blood of fallen knights. They were warriors of Tempest monsters who had built a nation from nothing. And now, they were defending it with everything they had. But the odds were overwhelming. The Holy Knights were not mere soldiers, they were trained zealots, filled with divine power, and they outnumbered Tempest's defenders 1,000 to 1. Their blessed weapons shimmered with holy energy, striking deep, burning flesh, and disrupting magic. Among them, 6 of the 10 great saints led the assault. Leonard's golden sword clashed against Benimaru's flames, pushing the ogre forward with sheer brute force. Bacchus swung his war hammer, shaking the ground with every impact. Guard's divine chants filled the air, healing wounds and reinforcing barriers, while Grigori and Serre moved like phantoms, cutting down anything in their path. Armud's presence alone made the battlefield feel heavy, his divine aura suppressing magic and dulling their attacks. The battle was one of survival. Benimaru roared, hell flare erupting around him. He swung his katana in a sweeping arc, sending a wave of black fire toward the advancing knights. The flames swallowed dozens, their screams filling the air as they burned to ashes. But Leonard was different. He cut through the fire as if it were nothing, his golden sword dispersing the hellish inferno. Bacchus came next, his massive war hammer crashing down. Benimaru barely dodged, the impact shattering the ground beneath him. Before he could counterattack, Leonard lunged forward, his sword aimed straight for Benimaru's heart. Benimaru twisted his body, barely avoiding the fatal blow. The tip of Leonard's blade sliced into his shoulder, sending a searing pain through his body. Damn it, these bastards are tough, Benimaru growled. Hekiro moved like the wind. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. His blade flashed, cutting through a dozen knights before they even realized he had moved. But Grigori and Serre were fast. Serre's curved blade met Hekiro's in a deadly clash. Sparks flew as their swords danced, neither giving an inch. Grigori appeared behind Hekiro, aiming for his blind spot. The old swordsman managed to deflect the attack, but the 2 saints were relentless, their coordinated strikes forcing him into a defensive stance. He was fast, but this was harder. Soei's clones flickered across the battlefield, striking from the shadows. Every time a knight fell, another took their place. He was a shadow among the chaos, weaving through enemies, his daggers coated in a paralyzing poison. But guard was a problem. The priest knight chanted divine spells, creating barriers that blocked Soei's attacks. Soei's clones stabbed at his defenses, but nothing got through. Then, divine judgment. A golden light erupted from guard, obliterating dozens of Soei's clones in an instant. The real Soei barely managed to escape, his body covered in burns. TCH, troublesome. Lightning surged around Ranga's body as he tore through the knights. His fangs sank into armored flesh, his claws ripped through shields like paper. But Armud was different. The saint raised his hand. Holy suppression. A powerful force crushed down on Ranga, making him stumble. His lightning flickered, weakening. His body felt heavier. Grr, Ranga growled, shaking off the divine suppression. He lunged at Armud, his fangs aiming for the knight's throat. But Armud caught him midair, slamming him into the ground with a force that cracked the earth. Geld was a mountain of iron and rage. Swords shattered against his hardened skin, spears broke upon impact. He grabbed a knight and crushed him with a single hand, tossing the corpse aside. But even he was struggling. The knights swarmed him like ants, their holy weapons cutting through his defenses. Blood dripped from his wounds, but he did not stop. He refused to stop. For Tempest, I will not fall. As the battle raged, Lytus and Fritz exchanged uneasy glances. This isn't right, Lytus muttered, her grip on her sword tightening. They're not even fighting back with their full strength. They're just trying to survive. Fritz wiped blood from his blade. Hinata's orders were absolute. But, this is a massacre. Glenda looked at Hinata, standing at the edge of the battlefield, her eyes locked onto the city. She had not moved, her focus entirely on one thing: Demon Lord Rimuru. Glenda clenched her fists. She's lost herself in rage. Then, something changed. The battle was still raging, the screams of the dying echoing across the field, but a sound cut through it all. A low, melodic humming. Soft at first, Gentle, almost playful. Then, a laugh. It sent a chill down everyone's spine. Benimaru froze, his sword still locked with Leonard's. Hikuro stepped back. Soei's clones stopped moving, even Ranga and Geld wounded but standing turned toward the sound. The holy knights stopped as well. The 10 great saints felt it. A presence. Something far, far more terrifying than anything they had ever faced before. The humming grew louder. Then, lightning struck the battlefield. The ground cracked. The sky darkened. The very air trembled. A voice, low and unfathomably cold, spoke. Ah, you know. A figure stepped forward, slowly, calmly, but with an aura so suffocating that even Hinata's breath hitched. I was in such a good mood today. The humming stopped, and in that instant, every single knight felt something they had never known before. Pure, uncontrollable terror. The dust faded, revealing a lone figure amidst the blood-soaked ruins. Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest. He stood still, his long black hair swaying lifelessly in the cold wind. His body looked untouched, pristine even, yet there was something terribly, terribly wrong. His eyes once golden and filled with mischief were now a deep, haunting purple, like a void that swallowed all light. But worse than that, from his left eye, a single black tear rolled down his cheek. Thick, ink-like, unnatural, his right eye remained dry. No tears, no sorrow, nothing. He took a slow step forward. Then another. His presence alone made the air grow heavy. The very world seemed to tremble, as if mourning alongside him. Then, a sound, soft, haunting, wrong. He was singing, Demon Lord, O Mighty One, bring back my father, please. His hands were warm, his smile so kind, he held me close with ease. He said he'd stay, he made a vow, he promised me he'd fight. Yet here he lays, so cold, so still, swallowed by endless night. Tell me, Demon Lord, do you have the power to undo? To bring back the ones we've lost, to make the sky shine blue? Or is this fate, unchanging, cruel, a world where gods don't care? If so, then take this heart of mine, strip it of love, of prayer. No gods remain, no kindness left, no justice to be found. So burn it all, let it collapse, leave nothing but the sound. The last note lingered in the air, sending chills down the spines of everyone present. Silence. The holy knights, so sure of their righteousness, felt their hands tremble on their weapons. They had faced monsters. They had slain demons. But this was something else. A hollow laugh slipped from Rimuru's lips. Not joyful, not bitter, just empty. Benimaru, Soei, Ranga, Hikuro, and Geld froze. Their lord, no, the man they had sworn their very lives to, was standing before them. But this was not him. The Rimuru they followed, the one who had guided them, laughed with them, saved them, was gone, broken, shattered. The realization hit them like a knife to the heart. Without hesitation, they stopped fighting and ran to Rimuru. The saints and holy knights could only watch as the strongest warriors of Tempest fell to their knees. Leonard's grip on his sword tightened. What the hell is happening? Bacchus swallowed. They abandoned the fight. Guard muttered a silent prayer. For the first time, he was afraid. Lytus and Fritz exchanged glances, their expressions grim. Lytus' voice was barely a whisper. Demon Lord Rimuru isn't like the rumors say. Fritz furrowed his brow. What do you mean? Lytus' fingers trembled against her sword hilt. He's supposed to be cold-hearted, calculating. But this, she swallowed hard. This is wrong. Fritz looked at Rimuru's face, at those purple, empty eyes. His body tensed. His eyes, they're purple. Lytus nodded, her voice shaking. And that tear. She clenched her fists. Something is very, very wrong. I can feel it. Their words reached Hinata. She gritted her teeth, feeling something deeply unsettling. This isn't the same Rimuru I fought before. Something about him made her stomach churn. This wasn't just anger. This was something far worse. Benimaru finally spoke, his voice unsteady. My lord. Rimuru tilted his head at the sound of his voice, almost as if he had forgotten Benimaru was there. Then, he smiled. It was the most empty, hollow expression they had ever seen. So many things happened today, Rimuru said softly. Then, his gaze slid toward Hinata. His voice was light, almost playful. Who? Hinata-chan. She stiffened. You're the one who led this army to Tempest, right? She didn't answer. Her instincts screamed at her. This thing is not Rimuru. She felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping up her spine. Fear. Rimuru turned back to Benimaru and the others. Benimaru. His voice was gentle. Head to the castle. Protect the survivors. Make sure they're safe. Benimaru flinched. My lord, you need to. Shish. Rimuru laughed. It sent shivers down their spines. Ranga hesitated. My lord, you're different. And you're crying. Rimuru laughed again. It wasn't warm. It wasn't sad. It was just wrong. Don't worry about it, Rimuru said. His voice was too light. Too carefree. These are just tears. His hand brushed against his black-stained cheek. They don't mean anything. Not anymore at least. Benimaru clenched his fists. My lord, please, go back to the castle. Let us end this. Rimuru tilted his head. Then, he stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Benimaru's head. Cold. His touch was cold. Too cold. Thank you, Benimaru. Benimaru's heart clenched. Then, Rimuru smiled wider. But I am no longer your master. Benimaru's breath caught. Ranga took a step forward. What do you mean? Rimuru laughed. Not in amusement. Not in sadness. Just because. Because. He looked at them, his most loyal companions, his family. Because if I remain your master, everyone will fall into danger. Silence. A sharp wind passed through the battlefield. The holy knights shivered. Benimaru's voice was weak. My lord. Rimuru's purple eyes darkened. This is my last order. He walked past them, his presence suffocating. He didn't look back. Go. Protect the others. Try to live. His voice dropped to a whisper. There is no more tempest. No more peace. No more kindness. No more words left to speak. Benimaru's heart shattered. Rimuru stopped walking. Make sure Shuna and Shion don't do anything dangerous because of me. Ranga and Geld tried to speak, but Benimaru clenched his fists, eyes burning. As you wish, my lord. Then, without another word, they turned their backs. With heavy hearts, they followed Rimuru's final command, leaving the battlefield behind. They would protect the remaining people of Tempest, as their lord had ordered. But deep inside, they knew. They were abandoning him, and that truth burned in their souls like a curse. Yet, as they disappeared into the distance, Rimuru stood alone, his haunting purple eyes locked onto the holy saints before him. Hinata took a step forward, her sword gleaming in the light. Well, she said, her voice unwavering. Looks like the demon lord has finally come out to face me. Rimuru didn't respond. He simply stood there, silent, unmoving, unnatural. The saints behind her felt something deeply wrong. This wasn't the demon lord they had heard about. The one said to be cunning yet reasonable, a ruler with a cold heart but a rational mind. No, this was something else entirely. And despite their fear, they still had confidence. After all, Hinata had the holy armor and the divine equipment bestowed upon her by Luminous. With those, she could surely stand against him. Or so they thought. Lytus and Fritz, however, felt uneasy. Glanda, she was terrified. She couldn't stop staring at Rimuru's lifeless expression, his single black tear, his unreadable smile. Something inside her screamed run. Rimuru sighed, breaking the silence. Wanna hear a story? Hinata narrowed her eyes. Do you realize you're going to die? Rimuru ignored her. His voice was calm, almost lazy. There was once a middle-aged man, Rimuru began. He lived a normal life. A lonely one. No parents. No siblings. No love. The saints exchanged glances. What is he talking about? Leonard muttered. This is unsettling, Fritz admitted. Is he trying to gain sympathy? Bacchus scoffed. But Rimuru continued, unfazed. One day, that man was stabbed. And then, he died. The wind howled. Then, he was given a chance to live again, in another world. The saints stiffened. A world filled with magic, demons, and monsters, even gods. A strange pressure filled the air. But gods never listen to prayers, Rimuru said softly. Demons, though, they're far better than gods. That sentence sent shivers down their spines. I don't like this, Glanda whispered. Leonard clenched his fists. What is he trying to say? Hinata's patience snapped. Enough of this nonsense. Rimuru didn't stop. His smile widened. Oh, right, where was I? He chuckled. Ah, yes, that man reincarnated as the weakest monster. A slime. A hollow laugh escaped him. It was wrong, not joyous, not bitter, just empty. He had the mind of a human, a kind-hearted fool. He tried to unite humans and monsters. For what? Leonard asked, unable to stop himself. Rimuru's voice turned mocking. Because he wanted a happy life. Then he suddenly stopped. His laughter broke, and in the chilling silence, he spoke again. No, his voice darkened. That's not it. His haunting purple eyes gleamed with something unreadable. He did most of it, for one person. His next words made Hinata's blood freeze. A woman named Shizu Izawa. Hinata snapped. You don't have the right to say her name. With a shout, she lunged at Rimuru, sword raised. The air cracked with her speed. The divine power in her blade surged. Rimuru didn't move. Then, in an instant, a sword appeared in his hand. With a single motion, he blocked her attack. Effortlessly. Boom. The shockwave exploded through the battlefield, shaking the ground beneath them. Hinata was sent flying back. Leonard and Glanda barely had time to react before they caught her midair. She coughed, her arms trembling from the sheer impact. Leonard's voice was hoarse. What was that? Glanda looked down at Hinata's trembling hands. He blocked it, she whispered in horror. Bacchus clenched his sword. No way. That was a divine attack. He should have at least staggered. But Rimuru stood there, untouched. Unbothered. Unfazed. His grip on the sword was loose, lazy, as if he hadn't even tried. And then, he continued. The slime failed to protect that girl, Rimuru said softly. But he fulfilled her wish. His voice darkened. Quote. And yet, the world never let that slime be free. The saints shivered. The world made him suffer, again, and again, and again. His voice grew quieter. Quote. Until he was broken. His haunting purple gaze swept over them. Yet even then, the world never let him rest. A suffocating aura crashed down upon the saints. The world struck him again, filled him with suffering. His expression was empty. Quote. Until that slime abandoned everything. His emotions, his loved ones, even himself. The air turned heavy. Quote. But the world doesn't know. The saints could barely breathe. This slime will soon sacrifice the world itself. Then Rimuru raised his sword, pointing it at Hinata. And it starts with those who hurt my people. His smile widened. His purple eyes gleamed. By showing them the pit of hell. Leonard's throat went dry. What the hell is he talking about? Glanda couldn't move. Fritz's hands trembled. Lytus. She stepped forward. Stop. Hinata's head snapped toward her. Lytus, what the hell are you doing? Lytus met her gaze, unshaken. You're wrong. The other saints reacted in shock. What? Bacchus growled. Leonard scowled. Lytus, step back. Lytus ignored them. She turned to Rimuru and walked toward him. Her voice was steady. Quote. I'm sorry for what we've done. Hinata's eyes widened. Lytus. Lytus ignored her. She stopped a few feet away from Rimuru. Quote. Is there anything I can do to help? Silence. The wind stilled. Rimuru looked at her. And then, he smiled. Quote. Sure, why not? A second later her head was gone. Blood sprayed into the air. The saint's eyes widened in horror. Lytus, head hit the ground. A moment later Rimuru kicked it. It rolled toward Hinata's feet. And then, in a voice so light, so careless, so utterly devoid of humanity. Rimuru laughed. The only help you can give me. His haunting purple eyes gleamed. Is dying by my hand. Silence. For a moment, nothing moved. Nothing breathed. The battlefield, soaked in blood and littered with corpses, stood frozen in time. The head of Lytus, a former holy saint, rolled across the dirt before stopping at Hinata's feet, her lifeless eyes still wide with shock. Then, why you? Glanda's voice wavered as she stared at Rimuru. You're a monster. Rimuru, still standing in the same spot, tilted his head, his expression devoid of any humanity. His once golden eyes were now a deep, ominous purple voids that reflected no light, only a bottomless abyss of nothingness. His left eye, from which another black tear streamed, twitched slightly. The right one remained dry, unblinking, as if he had lost the ability to weep. A monster. His voice was eerily calm, smooth, yet utterly detached. That's quite funny. If I'm a monster, what does that make you all? Bacchus gritted his teeth, his massive warhammer trembling in his grip. You bastard. She was one of us. Rimuru chuckled, a sound that sent chills crawling up their spines. It wasn't joyous or amused. It was hollow, and, Guard clenched his fists. She wanted to help you. She saw that we were wrong. Then she was even more foolish than I thought, Rimuru interrupted, stepping forward. His aura pulsed, sending out an invisible wave of suffocating dread. Helping me, even after what you done. His purple eyes gleamed. There's only one way to help me. He raised his sword, still stained with Lytus blood, and pointed it at them. Die. Enough. Hinata's voice cut through the tension like a blade. She trembled with fury, her grip on Dragon Slayer tightening until her knuckles turned white. You killed Shizu. You slaughtered humans as if they were insects, and now, you talk as if we are the monsters. She gritted her teeth, her rage overflowing. I won't allow you to keep existing, Demon Lord Rimuru. I will erase you from this world. Her sword shone brightly, sacred runes glowing as they reacted to her wrath. To me, all of you, Leonard, Grigori, Gard, Sayer, Glanda, Fritz, Bacchus, and Armud, all 8 remaining great saints gathered around her, their weapons drawn, their divine auras flaring up. Kill him. With a roar, they charged. The holy saints came at Rimuru from all directions. Leonard's golden longsword slashed downward, aiming for Rimuru's neck. At the same time, Grigori spun to his side, his twin daggers laced with divine magic, aiming for Rimuru's ribs. Gard raised his staff, chanting a powerful exorcism spell, while Bacchus swung his hammer, shaking the very ground. Rimuru's smile widened, and then, they saw it. His body melted into the shadows. Not teleporting, not dodging, his entire form dissolved into black mist, vanishing like a specter of nightmares. Leonard's sword cleaved through empty air. Grigori's daggers slashed through nothing. Bacchus' war hammer smashed the ground, cracking the earth, but it hit no flesh. Then, squelch, a horrifying scream rang out. One of the holy knights standing too close suddenly convulsed, his body lifted into the air by an unseen force. His arms twisted at unnatural angles, bones cracking, muscles tearing. He let out a strangled gasp before his body exploded into a rain of blood. Panic spread like wildfire. Stay together, Glanda shouted, raising her bow. Don't lose formation. Too late. Rimuru emerged from the pools of blood on the ground, his body forming out of the crimson ichor like a demon of legend. His smile was gone, his purple eyes gleamed, devoid of light, devoid of warmth. Scream for me. Then he moved. Faster than sight, he carved through the holy knights. His sword, black as the abyss, sliced through enchanted armor as if it were paper. He did not kill them cleanly. He took his time. One knight's legs were severed first, leaving him writhing in agony before Rimuru casually flicked his wrist and removed his head. Another knight tried to run. Rimuru appeared before him, stabbing a hand through his chest, gripping his still beating heart, then squeezing until it burst. More knights screamed. He toyed with them. One knight fell to his knees, begging, please. I have a family. Rimuru crouched, staring at him with empty eyes. A family? His voice was barely a whisper. Did the people you slaughtered today not have families? The knight's eyes widened in horror. Then his head was crushed under Rimuru's foot like a rotten fruit. Die, monster! Leonard struck with his golden sword, this time aiming for Rimuru's heart. His movements were precise, divine energy coating his blade. Rimuru didn't dodge. The sword pierced through his chest. For a brief second, Leonard thought he had won. Then Rimuru laughed. You people still don't understand, do you? He grabbed the blade while it was inside him, yanking Leonard forward. A sharp elbow struck Leonard's ribs, sending him flying. As he tumbled through the air, Rimuru turned just in time to catch Grigori's daggers with his fingers. Grigori's eyes widened. Impossible. Rimuru's grip tightened. The daggers shattered. Then, Rimuru headbutted Grigori, caving in his helmet. The force sent him crashing into Bacchus, who barely managed to brace himself. Lightning crackled. Holy judgment. Gard unleashed a blinding pillar of divine energy, consuming Rimuru entirely. The attack should have vaporized anything in its radius. Yet, as the light faded, Rimuru still stood. Unharmed. No burns. No wounds. Not even a scratch. The saints paled. You all bore me, Rimuru muttered. Then, he raised his hand. A wave of energy exploded outward, shattering the ground, sending thousands of holy knights flying. Bodies burst midair. Swords melted. Armor disintegrated. Agonized screams filled the battlefield. By the time the dust settled, the 4,000 holy knights had been reduced to barely a few hundred. Hinata stood amidst the carnage, her breath ragged, her grip on Dragon Slayer shaking. The 10 great saints injured, bruised, yet still standing gathered around her, their expressions a mix of rage and horror. Rimuru, standing amidst the blood-soaked ground, finally turned back to them. His eerie smile returned. I told you. His voice was soft, yet it carried through the battlefield. This is the beginning of your suffering. Hinata's body trembled. She clenched her teeth, her fury boiling over. I will kill you, Rimuru. Rimuru tilted his head. His smile widened. I'd love to see you try. Inside Ramiriz's endless labyrinth, deep within Tempest, hidden beneath layers of magic, was Ramiriz's endless labyrinth, a vast and ever-shifting space where the concept of direction was meaningless. The walls twisted and folded, forming impossible pathways that changed on a whim. This was her domain, a chaotic maze filled with secrets only she could navigate. At its heart, in a cozy room far removed from the outside world, Rimuru and Veldora lounged on an oversized couch, surrounded by stacks of manga. The small fairy kicked her legs in the air, flipping through a volume with shining eyes, while the mighty storm dragon, in his humanoid form, sat beside her, completely immersed in his own book. Behind them, Trainee, the dryad, stood with her hands clasped, her ever-serene face watching over them like a guardian. Beretta, the golem, stood silently beside her, a figure of unshakable loyalty. Meanwhile, on another couch, Dino lay sprawled out, his arms behind his head, lazily sleeping as if the world itself was of no concern to him. Foo-foo. This manga is amazing, right, Veldora? Rimuru chirped, grinning. This hero's finally getting serious. Veldora let out a dramatic laugh, slamming his fist into his palm. Indeed, the moment where he unlocked his ultimate power, pure brilliance. Just like me. Beretta and Trainee exchanged glances. The two were long used to these absurd conversations. Suddenly, Dino stirred, cracking open an eye and frowning slightly. He sat up just a little, looking around. "Ha, I thought I sensed something," he muttered sleepily before sighing and lying back down. "Meh, probably nothing." But before he could relax again, Veldora shot up from his seat, eyes wide. His usually carefree expression vanished, replaced with something rare concern. "Rimuru," he said, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "I can't sense Rimuru anymore." Rimuru blinked. "Huh, you mean it's blocked?" Veldora shook his head, clenching his fists. "No, it's completely broken." His golden eyes flickered with uncertainty. "The connection between us, our soul corridor, is shattered." For the first time, Rimuru felt something cold in her chest. She hesitated, her wings twitching. "Wait, that means Rimuru has lost control of." She stopped herself. Veldora narrowed his eyes at her suspiciously. "Lost control of what?" he demanded. Rimuru forced a nervous laugh. "And nothing. I mean, what if it's just a fluke? Maybe he's just messing with you, right?" Heh. Veldora wasn't convinced, but before he could press further, Rimuru flew toward Dino and slapped him across the face. GWAH. Dino shot up instantly, rubbing his cheek with a glare. "You tiny bitch. What the hell? Wake up, lazy idiot. Rimuru is in control of, you know who." She snapped. For a moment, Dino just stared, confused. Then, realization hit him. His relaxed posture vanished, replaced by something close to shock. He jumped up so fast he lost his balance and nearly fell. "Shit," he muttered. "I'll go tell Guy." "You do that," Rimuru said, flapping her wings anxiously. She turned to Veldora. "We're going outside. We need to see what's happening." Veldora gave a sharp nod, his aura surging as he prepared to teleport. Trainee and Beretta, sensing the urgency, silently followed. In the next moment, they vanished. When Rimuru, Veldora, Beretta, and Trainee reappeared outside the castle, the sight before them nearly made Veldora lose himself in rage. The once vibrant city of Tempest was ruined. Smoke and ash hung in the air, choking the streets with the scent of death. Bodies littered the ground, hundreds of them. Parents held their lifeless children, their wails piercing the silence. Small figures desperately shook their parents, begging them to wake up. Blood painted the earth, soaking into the once peaceful city. In the center of it all, Shuna and Xian moved desperately, trying to comfort the survivors. Luminous stood nearby, pale and shaken. For the first time, the vampire goddess who always carried herself with unshakable confidence looked afraid. Veldora's body trembled with barely contained fury. "Who did this?" he growled, his voice dark and deadly. Xian and Gobta turned, their eyes reflecting exhaustion and grief. Gobta swallowed hard. "It was the Holy Knights." His voice cracked. "They invaded and slaughtered everyone." Rimuru flinched, her wings folding tightly against her back. She turned sharply toward Luminous. "And what the hell are you doing here?" she demanded. "While your people were killing ours." Luminous stiffened, her crimson eyes widening. She had no idea. "What?" she breathed. Rimurus's face twisted in anger. "Don't play dumb. Your people, your so-called Holy Knights, did this." For a moment, Luminous stood frozen. Then, as realization set in, her entire body trembled. "No. They wouldn't. They wouldn't." She turned sharply, rushing toward the battlefield. Or at least, she tried. The moment she reached the barrier surrounding Castle Arena, it forcefully stopped her. TCH. She gritted her teeth. Damn it, why won't it? A second later, she forced her way through. But then, a collar around her neck flared to life. Luminous screamed as a surge of pain racked her body, bringing her to her knees. The enchanted slave collar Rimuru placed on her tightened, its dark magic preventing her from disobeying his command to stay. She clutched at it desperately, her expression turning from pain to desperation. No, no, she hissed. Ramurus flinched at the sheer raw emotion in Luminous' voice. For the first time, the so-called goddess looked helpless. She unclenched her fists. Shuna's shoulders trembled. Gobta swallowed thickly. The people of Tempest saw everything. And in their eyes, a single truth settled in. Rimuru was gone, and in his place, something else had taken over. Something far, far worse. Not someone but something. Ramurus, what the hell is going on? Veldora's voice boomed across the ruined city, shaking the very air with his fury. His golden eyes burned with an intensity that made even the Dryad trainee and the Beretta take a cautious step back. Ramurus flinched but refused to meet his gaze. I can't tell you, she muttered, turning away. Just stay put for a bit. Veldora snapped. Stay put, he roared, his aura exploding around him like a violent storm. Look around you, Ramurus. Rimuru is missing, Tempest is in ruins, and you're telling me to sit tight like a fool. Tell me what's happening. Ramurus squeezed her eyes shut, her tiny fists clenched. She wanted to tell him she really did but she couldn't. Before Veldora could shout again, a new presence appeared. Benimaru, Soe, Geld, Ranga, and Hekuro materialized before them. But they were not the same warriors they once were. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow. They looked broken. Veldora and Ramurus exchanged glances before stepping forward. Benimaru, Veldora called. What happened? Where's Rimuru? The red ogre knelt down, followed by the others. Veldora-sama. Benimaru's voice was heavy, like something inside him had shattered beyond repair. Veldora's stomach twisted. Tell me, where is Rimuru? Benimaru clenched his fists and took a deep breath. Then, in a voice filled with pain, he spoke. Rimuru-sama told us that he was no longer our master. The air grew deathly still. Rimuru-sama said there's no Tempest anymore. Ramurus took a step back, her wings trembling. No. No, no, no. Benimaru continued, his voice barely above a whisper. Rimuru-sama was beyond broken. Veldora's hands shook. Rimuru-sama was no longer the same. Benimaru swallowed hard, closing his eyes. And now were meaningless illusions. The words hit like a hammer. Veldora's mind raged. He refused to believe it. No, he snarled, his aura spiraling out of control. No, no one does this to my best friend and gets away with it. His body exploded into motion. Before anyone could stop him, Veldora shot into the sky, his body shifting. Black lightning crackled around him as his form expanded, his skin twisting into scales of raw destruction. In the blink of an eye, the storm dragon Veldora had returned. I'll kill every single one of them. He roared, his voice shaking the heavens as he tore through the sky, flying straight toward the battlefield. Luminous was still frozen, her mind spinning. Rimuru had lost himself. Her hands trembled. This wasn't supposed to happen. She turned to Ramurus. You have to stop Veldora. Ramurus let out a dry laugh. Stop him, you think I can? She threw up her arms. Besides, Dino's already on his way to tell Guy about it. Luminous narrowed her eyes. Guy, why? Ramurus hesitated before crossing her arms. Because, there's something far more dangerous than just Rimuru losing control. Luminous' heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Ramurus sighed. I can't tell you. Not yet, at least. And that, more than anything, terrified Luminous. Ice continent. The ice continent stretched endlessly, a frozen wasteland of jagged glaciers and eternal blizzards. At its heart stood Guy Crimson's castle, an imposing fortress made of enchanted ice, unyielding even to time itself. Inside, Guy Crimson and Velzard sat comfortably, enjoying their tea. Behind them stood Rain and Misery, silent as always. The peaceful moment didn't last. A sudden burst of energy signaled Dino's arrival. He stumbled into the room, his face pale. Guy raised an eyebrow. Huh, you actually look awake for once. Velzard, ever sharp, narrowed her eyes. Why do you look so shaken? Dino took a deep breath, then dropped the bombshell. Something happened in Tempest. Velzard frowned, and Guy waved a hand lazily. I'm sure Rimuru or Luminous can handle it. Or at least Ramurus. Dino's voice came out, strained. Ramurus said. Rimuru lost control. Guy's cup shattered. Velzard's eyes widened. What? Guy shot to his feet. Dino swallowed hard. It looks like Ivaraj took over. A heavy silence filled the room. Then, and you didn't think to mention this earlier. Guy exploded. Velzard, equally shaken, turned on Dino. Why the hell didn't you say that immediately? Dino held up his hands. Hey, I just found out, okay. Cut me some slack. Guy cursed under his breath, turning toward the exit. He lifted his hand, preparing to teleport. Nothing happened. He clicked his tongue. TCH. That damn slime put up a barrier again. Velzard crossed her arms. Looks like teleportation's out. Guy sighed, rubbing his temple. All right then, we're flying. He turned toward Rain and Misery. You two, follow us. Be ready for anything. The two nodded without hesitation. Velzard unfurled her wings, a cold storm forming around her. Guy cracked his neck, his demonic energy surging. Dino groaned. So much work. Misery grabbed him. Wah hey, let go. Nope, Misery deadpanned, lifting him effortlessly. And with that, Guy, Velzard, Rain, Misery, and Dino took to the skies, flying toward Tempest. As they flew, the air between them remained tense. Velzard finally broke the silence. Dino, how bad is it? Dino sighed. Bad. Guy's eyes flickered. Just how much Rimuru lost control? Dino hesitated. Let's just say, if he fully takes over, Rimuru won't be Rimuru anymore. Velzard's fists clenched. That bastard. Guy's expression darkened. Then we'd better move faster. With a surge of power, the group accelerated. Because at this rate, by the time they arrived, there might not be anything left to save. Back in the battlefield was a canvas of death, painted in crimson. Bodies lay in heaps, severed limbs scattered across the blood-soaked ground. The once proud holy knights had been reduced to nothing more than corpses, their divine armor broken, their prayers unanswered. And at the center of it all stood Rimuru. His form was still, his sword dripping with fresh blood. His golden eyes had fully darkened into a deep, haunting purple. But something was different. His pupils were shifting, warping, changing into something unnatural. One moment, they were slits like a dragon's, the next, a swirling abyss. His smile stretched just a bit too wide, his body trembling, though not from fatigue. From something else. Power. Destruction. A voice whispered within him, soft yet suffocating. Do you see it now? Rimuru's breath came out in a slow, eerie exhale. Every second, his presence grew heavier, darker. His aura no longer carried the will of a demon lord. It was something beyond that. Something monstrous. Hinata felt a chill race down her spine. Her grip on Dragon Slayer tightened. He's changing, she whispered, her voice barely audible. The remaining 10 great saints Leonard, Grigori, Bacchus, Gard, Sayer, Glanda, Fritz, Armud stood around her, all battered, all barely holding on. They had believed that Rimuru was just another demon lord. A powerful one, yes, but nothing they couldn't handle if they fought together. They had been wrong, so horribly wrong. They had thought Lytus, death was a tragedy. But now, staring at Rimuru, the inhuman way he moved, the eerie way he smiled, they realized something far worse. This wasn't just the rage of a demon lord. This was the rage of something beyond comprehension. Another knight screamed as Rimuru appeared in front of him, his sword piercing through his chest. Instead of killing him immediately, Rimuru placed a hand on the man's face, his fingers digging into his skin. You're scared, Rimuru whispered. The knight's body shook violently. You should be. Then, without warning, Rimuru's fingers crushed the knight's skull, blood and brain matter splattering across the ground. Another knight tried to run. Rimuru caught him. The man's eyes widened in sheer terror as black tendrils erupted from Rimuru's arm, wrapping around his limbs, pulling. Rip. His arms and legs were torn from his body. The screams of the dying filled the battlefield. One by one, the remaining 1,000 holy knights were slaughtered. And Rimuru took his time. Some, he burned alive. Others, he froze solid and shattered them with a flick of his fingers. Some, he crushed under his foot, their bones snapping like twigs. And with every second, his voice grew deeper. Every moment, his eyes lost more of their humanity. The saints could only watch in horror. This isn't normal, Gard choked out. Is he even Rimuru anymore? Fritz whispered. Hinata took a step forward, ignoring the terror clawing at her chest. This is enough. But before she could finish, a shadow loomed overhead. A massive figure descended from the sky, the wind howling as its wings beat against the battlefield. A dragon's scales shining like gold and lightning crackling across its body landed behind Rimuru. Veldora. Hinata and the saints froze. If Rimuru was already too much for them, then Veldora. We're dead, Bacchus muttered in absolute despair. Veldora's furious roar shook the earth. You damn humans. Look at what you've done to Rimuru. The sheer pressure of his voice alone made the ground tremble. The saints stepped back, fear clear in their eyes. Hinata gritted her teeth. Veldora. The storm dragon glared at her, his golden eyes blazing with fury. You made him suffer. You attacked his people, his home. And for what? His aura surged, the winds howling as lightning crackled across his body. I'll destroy you all. But before he could move, a hand grabbed his wrist. Veldora's eyes widened. Rimuru had stopped him. His expression remained blank, his eerie smile still plastered across his face. This isn't your fight, Veldora, Rimuru said, his voice almost mocking. Veldora frowned. What are you saying, Rimuru? Rimuru's eyes darkened further. If you interfere, I'll kill you too. The air turned deadly silent. Veldora's breath hitched. He stared into Rimuru's empty, abyss-like eyes and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Rimuru, what happened to you? Rimuru chuckled. What happened? His smile twitched. This world didn't let me live without suffering. He raised his sword. And after what these humans did to my people, to the ones I love. Why should I hold back? Veldora clenched his fists. Because we can still protect Tempest together. Enough. Rimuru's shout shook the battlefield, sending waves of power rippling through the air. Veldora took a step back. Go back to the castle, Veldora, Rimuru ordered. Let me enjoy this. Let me rip them apart. Veldora's heart ached. I won't let you do this. Shing. A flash of silver. Hinata had attacked. Her sword, Dragon Slayer, aimed straight for Veldora's heart. But before it could land, clang, Rimuru had moved. His blade intercepted hers effortlessly. Then, in a blur, he kicked her, sending her flying. Hinata crashed into the ground, coughing up blood. Rimuru turned back to Veldora, his eerie smile still in place. Go, Veldora. Veldora clenched his fists. I'm your best friend. You don't have to do this alone. Rimuru's smile faltered. Then, for the first time, a normal tear fell from his eye. You're wrong. His voice shook slightly. I was never your best friend. Veldora's heart cracked. Don't lie to me. Rimuru looked away. Just go back to Tempest. His voice lowered. Protect my people. Veldora swallowed hard. Then, he sighed. Fine. He turned away, his body trembling with frustration. I'll be waiting for you in the castle. Inside Rimuru's mind, less than master. Greater than CL's voice was frantic, desperate. Less than your soul is already breaking. And this unidentified power, if you use too much of it, you'll. Greater than. Rimuru sighed. Who cares? Less than I care. Greater than. Her voice cracked with panic. Less than if this continues, I'll have no choice. I'll forcefully make you unconscious and teleport you to the subspace. Greater than. Rimuru exhaled slowly. Fine. If something really bad happens, you can do that. For now. He turned back to Hinata and the saints, his smile stretching wider, more twisted. The ground was soaked in blood, dark, thick, and lifeless. The scent of iron hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Bodies lay scattered, motionless, broken. 4,000 holy knights had come to purge the monster known as Rimuru Tempest. Now, not a single one remained. The battlefield was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard, and at the center of it all stood him. Rimuru. He stood amidst the carnage, surrounded by corpses that barely even looked human anymore. Some were missing limbs, others were twisted, contorted into unnatural positions. The earth was stained, corrupted by the overwhelming presence of death. His golden eyes were long gone. Instead, deep, swirling purple orbs stared ahead, void of anything resembling emotion. His left eye still wept a black tear, an eerie, unholy sight. His face was unreadable, empty, and yet, his lips curved into a slow, unnatural smile. Before you die, a shadow spread beneath him. It pulsed, it twisted, it crawled. Let me show you the pit of hell. A storm of darkness erupted from his body. A crushing, suffocating wave of pure malice spread across the battlefield, sending cracks through the already shattered ground. The sky itself seemed to darken, as if the world was recoiling from the abomination that now stood in its midst. The great saints, the only ones still alive, felt their knees weaken. This was no longer a battle. It was punishment. Hinata's grip on her sword tightened. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to run. To escape. To get as far away from this thing as possible. But she refused. Even if her body trembled. Even if her instincts shrieked in terror. She glared at Rimuru, her eyes burning with hatred. You demon. Rimuru tilted his head. His expression didn't change. You killed them, she hissed. All of them. His smile widened slightly. You killed Shizu. Nothing. Still, nothing. You're nothing more than a plague. A monster that should never have existed. Her words were venomous, raw with rage. And yet, Rimuru laughed. A slow, hollow, unnerving laugh. The saints flinched. Monster. His voice was a whisper, twisted and distorted. That word has lost all meaning. Hinata's teeth clenched. She had enough. She lunged. Dragon Slayer blazed in her hands, divine energy crackling through the blade. She swung with everything she had, aiming to cleave him in two. And yet, clang, metal met metal, her sword stopped. Rimuru had blocked it with a single hand. Her eyes widened. Is that all? His voice was mocking. Her arms shook. The force behind her attack completely nullified. And then, a blur, a sharp, wet sound. Squelch. Grigori was floating. No, he was being held. Rimuru's claw was wrapped around his throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. The great saints barely had time to process what was happening. Shish, Rimuru whispered softly. Let end this with you fist. A sickening crack. Grigori's head twisted unnaturally to the side. His body convulsed then fell limp. Dead. The saints froze. Rimuru casually tossed the lifeless corpse aside. His abyssal gaze locked onto the next target. Bacchus. The warrior roared, swinging his hammer with every ounce of strength he had left. It never reached. A slash. A shadow. Rimuru appeared behind him. A thin, black blade glided through Bacchus' spine. A choked gasp. Then silence. The remaining saints could barely process what had just happened. Two were dead. And Rimuru. His smile widened. His aura darkened. Hinata's blood ran cold. But before she could move, the others attacked. Ser, Leonard, Armud, Glanda, Guard, Fritz, all of them. The last of the 10 great saints, moving as one. Blades flashed. Holy energy exploded through the air. A desperate, final assault. And Rimuru, he vanished. A blur, a shadow, and then, a scream. Glanda, her knee snapped. A wet, sickening crunch filled the air as she collapsed, her leg bent in an unnatural direction. A second later, Fritz, his arm twisted violently, bones shattering beneath Rimuru's touch. Then, Leonard, he staggered back, his ribs caving in as an invisible force slammed into his chest. Blood spilled from his mouth. One by one, they fell. Ser, his sword arm was ripped apart at the joints, leaving him gasping in pain. Armud, his spine was crushed, leaving him motionless. Guard, his body was drenched in wounds, his breath sharp and broken. Not a single one could stand. They were alive, but barely. Their bodies refused to move. Their vision blurred. Despair set in. Hinata stood alone, the last one standing. The saints, broken and battered, could only watch her. Hinata. Glanda coughed, blood dripping from her lips. Why you can still win. Yes. Fritz choked. You have, Dragon Slayer, and the armor. Guard gasped. The armor. Luminous gave you. A shaky chorus of faith. Belief in her. Belief that she could still win. She didn't respond. Her fingers curled around Dragon Slayer, her knuckles white. Rimuru tilted his head, his gaze unreadable. Then, he took a step forward. Hinata flinched. A predator, walking toward its prey. His voice was soft, too soft. Are you afraid? She clenched her teeth. Shut up. Another step. Her breath caught. His presence smothered the air itself. And then, he was right in front of her. His swirling violet eyes bore into her, empty of emotion, devoid of life. His smile remained unnatural, eerie, wrong. He was playing with his prey. Hinata gritted her teeth, forcing her trembling legs to hold firm. Her grip tightened on Dragon Slayer, its sacred blade burning with divine energy. The armor gifted by Luminous shimmered with a faint glow, reinforcing her exhausted body. She could still fight. She had to. Rimuru took another slow step forward, his gaze unwavering. What now, Hinata? His voice hollow, mocking. Hinata snarled. Shut up. She moved. Faster than sound. A streak of white and gold blurred through the battlefield, Dragon Slayer slashing in an arc meant to cut Rimuru in half. For the first time, she saw it. His eyes twitched. For the first time, he blocked with both hands. A pulse of divine energy exploded outward as blade met flesh. The force shook the ruined city, sending tremors rippling through the ground. The remaining saints, barely conscious, watched in desperate hope. Hinata, Leonard rasped. Kill him. Dragon Slayer can cut through anything. Glanda cried, clenching her broken hands together in prayer. But then, a crack, a horrifying, gut-wrenching sound. Hinata's breath hitched. Her sword. A jagged fracture crawled along Dragon Slayer's sacred steel. And then, it shattered. A spray of silver shards. Time froze. The saints paralyzed. Leonard's lips trembled. That's impossible. Guard's eyes widened in horror. That sword was blessed by luminaries themselves. This can't. Armud choked, his body trembling. Rimuru, how? Hinata stared. Her hands were empty. Her blade, the one that had slain demon lords, was gone. Rimuru tilted his head. His smile widened. I told you. His claws twitched. And then, he struck. A blur of motion faster than she could see. His fist slammed into her chest. Crack. Armor that had withstood gods, that had turned back the might of the heavens themselves. It shattered. Hinata flew. Her body became a blur as she crashed through the remnants of a building, debris exploding around her. The impact sent shockwaves through the ruined city, and for a moment. Silence. The saints stunned. They had believed. They had put everything into this one last hope. And yet, he broke it. Fritz whispered, his voice barely a breath. He broke everything. Glenda sobbed, hands clutching at the dirt. He's toying with us. Leonard's fingers dug into the earth. Hinata, please. A slow, agonizing moment. Then, a shift in the rubble. Stone crumbled. A figure rose. Hinata stood. Her white uniform was in tatters. Her body was bloodied, bruised, but her dark eyes still burned. Even as her sword lay in pieces. Even as her armor was dust. She stood. Rimuru's head tilted. His fingers twitched, his movements almost unnatural. For a second, something in his shadow shifted. Something unseen. Something watching. Something smiling. Rimuru didn't notice. His lips curled into a slow, twisted grin. Hinata readied herself. This was it. The final battle. And then a portal tore open. The golden radiance from the portal bathed the battlefield in an almost divine glow. 7 figures stepped forward, their presence overwhelming, suffocating. The luminaries. Hinata's breath was ragged as she gazed upon them, relief flickering in her violet eyes. You came. The remaining saints, battered and broken, clung to the last shred of hope. Luminaries. Glenda whispered. They're here, we're saved. Leonard coughed, blood dribbling from his lips. But Rimuru, his expression didn't change. The luminaries exuded an aura of divinity, their very presence rejecting all evil. Their robes shimmered in celestial light, and their gazes, so gentle, so reassuring, fell upon Hinata. One stepped forward, his voice honeyed. Rest now, child, you've done well. He raised a hand, an ethereal glow encircling Hinata's broken body. The saints let out shaky breaths of relief as the spell worked its magic, mending wounds, soothing pain. It looked so real, but Rimuru knew, it was a lie. His eyes darkened, the black tear trailing down his cheek thickening. The moment their magic seeped into Hinata, her body convulsed. Her breath hitched, her veins burned as the so-called healing light turned to spears inside her flesh. Hinata's mind screamed, they were killing her. They never came to save her. They came to eliminate both of them. And the saints, they watched in confusion, in horror, as Hinata's face twisted in agony. Hinata. Guard's voice was weak. The luminary standing over, he smiled. Soft, kind, a hand extended, fingertips coated in divine destruction. A mercy killing, but before it could reach Hinata. A voice, low, slow, cold, you cannot take what belongs to me. A shadow stretched, a force unseen lashed out. The luminary staggered back, his wrist twisted at an unnatural angle, the sound of cracking bone piercing the silence. The golden glow flickered, 7 pairs of eyes turned to him. Rimuru smiled. It wasn't human, it wasn't sane, it was the smile of something far beyond comprehension. She is my prey, he whispered. And you will not take her from me. For the first time, the luminaries' serene expressions faltered. Then, they attacked, 7 at once, a flood of divine might. Light lances tore through the air, holy incantations wove into existence, and then, die you monster! Disintegration, 7 of them shouted, a force beyond reckoning, a spell said to erase even the concept of existence. The saints barely had time to process what was happening. A blinding radiance engulfed Rimuru, a violent eruption of divine destruction. The saints watched, eyes wide. Leonard gasped. Did they? Fritz swallowed hard. There's no way, he survived that. Glenda let out a shaky breath. Disintegration is the strongest spell in existence. Silence. The light faded, and then a voice. Soft, hollow, twisted. A song, a poem, a hunter's lament. The hunter walks, his steps unseen. Through forests deep, where death has been. A whisper trails, a fleeting breath. The scent of prey, the stench of death. They run, they cry, they beg, they plead. Yet still, they fall, they break, they bleed. For shadows creep where light does cease. And in the dark, the hunter feasts. The saints froze. The luminaries, eyes widened. A gust of wind carried the last embers of divine light away, and there he stood. Unharmed, not a single scratch. His clothes weren't even ruffled. The luminaries staggered back. Impossible. One of them gasped. Another trembled. Disintegration. Did nothing. Fear. Genuine, raw fear. And Rimuru. He laughed. It was wrong. Not joyous. Not amused. Empty. Dark. His golden eyes were long gone. The abyss stared back at them. A slow, mocking breath left his lips. Is that all? Then, his hand moved. A ripple through the void. A name whispered. Beelzebub. A great maw opened. Shadows swirled, an abyssal tide consuming everything in its path. The luminaries screamed. Their bodies folded inward. Their flesh, their bones, their very souls. Devoured. Swallowed whole. Not a trace remained. Only silence. The saints. They stared. Mouths open, eyes unblinking, unable to comprehend. Fritz trembled violently. They were supposed to be invincible. Leonard clutched his chest, his breath uneven. He killed them. All of them. Glenda shook her head, refusing to accept reality. No. That's not possible. The strongest spell in existence had failed, and the ones they revered as divine beings had been swallowed like insects. Rimuru turned his gaze upon them. The broken saints. The last remnants of a war already lost. His black tear trailed down his cheek, but the expression on his face. There was none. A predator who had already won. A hunter. Standing amidst his prey. The battlefield was silent and eerie, suffocating silence that pressed down like a thick fog. The scent of blood and charred flesh hung in the air, heavier than the night itself. The once proud holy knights were no more, their bodies torn apart, their faith shattered. Only the saints remained, but they were barely clinging to life. Rimuru's once gentle golden eyes were long gone, replaced by a void of swirling purple, shifting and pulsing with something dark, something inhuman. His face, though eerily calm, bore an unnatural smile, too slow, too deliberate. And beneath his left eye, the black tear dripped, trailing down his cheek like ink staining the canvas of his skin. He exhaled softly, as if exhausted by the massacre. Then he stepped forward. His boots crunched against the blood-soaked earth, and the saints flinched. Even in their battered state, they instinctively recoiled from him. He wasn't just a demon lord. He was something else entirely, something they could no longer comprehend. Rimuru came to a stop in front of Hinata's broken form. She lay sprawled on the ground, panting, her body trembling from the wounds she had sustained. Yet, despite the pain, her hatred had not wavered. Her eyes burned with rage as she glared up at him. Rimuru crouched down, tilting his head slightly. "Looks like my prey is almost gone," he murmured, his voice unnervingly soft. Hinata bared her teeth, ready to spit out another insult, but before she could speak, Rimuru flicked his wrist. A small glass vial rolled toward her, stopping just within reach. A healing potion, the saints gasped. Even Hinata hesitated, her rage momentarily overshadowed by confusion. But only for a second. "You think I'd accept your pity?" she hissed, smacking the vial away. Rimuru chuckled, a slow, hollow sound that sent shivers down their spines. "Pity," he shook his head. No, Hinata. This isn't pity." His smile widened, but there was no warmth in it. "It's because you haven't suffered enough yet." Hinata's body tensed. Before she could react, shadowy tendrils erupted from the ground, wrapping around her wrists and ankles, binding her in place. She struggled, thrashing against the restraints, but they did not budge. Rimuru grabbed a fistful of her hair and yanked her forward. She let out a sharp gasp as she was dragged across the blood-stained ground. "You should watch closely," Rimuru whispered. "Look at them. Look at their final moments." Hinata's eyes widened in horror as she realized where he was taking her. The remaining saints. They were still alive but barely. Their broken bodies were piled together, bloodied and trembling. Their eyes darted between Rimuru and Hinata, desperation seeping into their faces. "Please." Guard coughed, blood trickling from his lips. You don't have to do this." Rimuru turned his hollow gaze toward him. "Don't I?" His foot pressed down on Guard's chest. There was a sickening crunch. Guard's body spasmed, a choked gasp escaping his lips before the light faded from his eyes. The saints cried out in horror. One by one, Rimuru slaughtered them. A blade to the throat. A crushed skull beneath his fingers. A heart ripped from a chest. No two deaths were the same. He was precise, cruel, deliberate. Each kill slower, more agonizing than the last. Hinata screamed in fury, thrashing against her binds, but she could do nothing. Then, only one remained. Glanda. Rimuru lifted his blade, ready to end it, but the moment it neared her, he paused. His glowing purple eyes narrowed slightly. A curse, he murmured. Glanda gasped, her eyes widening. How do you know that? Rimuru didn't answer. His expression remained unreadable, but his grip on his weapon loosened. Then, he sighed. Nox. A figure emerged from the darkness behind him, a demon with raven black wings and piercing red eyes. She knelt before Rimuru, bowing her head. Yes, my lord. Rimuru gestured toward Glanda without looking at her. Take her to the prison. Heal her. Glanda was too stunned to speak. Of all the things she expected, mercy was not one of them. Why are you sparing me? She whispered. Rimuru's voice was devoid of warmth. Because that curse of yours got my attention. That was all he said before turning away. Nox obeyed, picking up Glanda and vanishing into the shadows. Now, there was only Hinata. Still bound, still seething, still drowning in rage. Rimuru turned to her slowly. Her breathing was uneven, her face twisted in fury. You demon, she screamed. You monster, you heartless filth, you should never have been born. Rimuru's expression didn't change. Instead, he laughed. A slow, eerie laugh. Monster, heartless. His voice dropped to a whisper, sending chills down her spine. You're the one who made me this way, Hinata. Her breath hitched. What the hell are you talking about? Rimuru's eyes darkened. Do you remember the invasion you helped with? The one where your faith told you to exterminate us like pests? Hinata's body tensed, but Rimuru didn't stop. That was the day I became cold. I abandoned my emotions. I distanced myself from the people I loved, thinking it would keep them safe. I thought I could prevent it from happening again. His lips twitched. But then, you came here. His voice wavered for the first time. And you killed my people. Again. His left eye still wept black tears, but the other was trembling. Hinata's grip tightened. You killed Shizu-sensei. You enslaved Luminous-sama. You took away the last two people I had left. So I took what you had. Rimuru's expression darkened instantly. Shut up. Hinata's breath caught. Don't you dare tell me I killed Shizu, Rimuru growled, his voice distorting slightly. How the hell was I supposed to kill the first woman I ever loved? Hinata's eyes widened. I failed to save her. That's all. Then his voice dropped to an icy whisper. And if you say one more word about my people, I'll show you exactly what it feels like to lose something you're trying to protect. Hinata spat blood onto the ground. You and your people are monsters. Monsters don't deserve to live. That is Rimuru's laughter cut her off. She froze. Your teachings, he mocked. Tell me, Hinata, was Luminous a monster too? She flinched. Rimuru grinned. Every time we tried to live in peace, humans called us monsters and ruined it. That's how I see the world now. Hinata snapped. How the hell is that my fault? Rimuru's smile faded. Still not admitting it, are we? His wings unfurled, casting a dark shadow over her. Fine. He grabbed her roughly, ignoring her protests. I'll show you what I felt. And with that, he took to the sky, dragging her into the abyss with him. Meanwhile, the sky above Tempest was gray, thick clouds blotting out the sun. Ash drifted through the air like dead snow, and the once vibrant nation was now a graveyard. Guy Crimson and Velzard descended toward the ruined city, their expressions unreadable. Behind them, Rain and Misery followed closely, the latter dragging a half-conscious Dino by the collar. They landed near the castle, what was left of it. And what they saw froze them in place. Tempest, a land once full of life, had become a nightmare. Buildings stood in ruin, their foundations cracked and scorched. Blood painted the streets in grotesque patterns, bodies of the fallen littering the ground. The scent of death was suffocating. Children sat beside their parents, shaking their lifeless forms, whispering, "Wake up. Please wake up." Mothers clutched their dead children in trembling arms, their cries of despair piercing the silence like knives. Rimuru's subordinates moved through the wreckage, tending to the wounded, offering what little comfort they could. But even they monsters strong beyond reason were shaken. And in the midst of it all stood Veldora. The storm dragon, known for his carefree, childish antics, now stood in silence, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. His usual golden eyes were dull, empty. Velzard frowned and approached him. "Veldora," she called, her voice steady. "What happened here?" Veldora did not answer. Velzard's frown deepened. She reached out. Crack. Her palm slammed against the side of his head. Don't you dare ignore me, she snapped. Veldora's head barely moved from the impact, but his shoulders tensed. Then, slowly, he turned to face her, his golden eyes burning with something raw, something Velzard had never seen before. Let me be. The words were sharp, cutting deeper than any blade. Velzard's breath hitched. This wasn't the Veldora she knew. This wasn't the childish fool who whined when scolded, who clung to Rimuru like a lost puppy. No, this was a dragon. A true dragon. And he was furious. Veldora, I said let me be. He roared. His voice shook the ground, sending cracks rippling through the already broken city. The very air vibrated with his rage. Velzard stood frozen, stunned by the raw emotion behind his words. She had never seen her foolish little brother like this. Veldora exhaled heavily, his fists clenching at his sides. I have nothing to say to you. Velzard narrowed her eyes. What happened? For a moment, Veldora didn't answer. Then, finally, he spoke. Rimuru. He paused, his voice barely above a whisper. He said, I am no longer his best friend. Silence. Velzard's breath caught. Rain and misery tensed. Even Guy's smirk faded slightly. Dino, despite his usual laziness, blinked in surprise. Huh, Velzard frowned. That's ridiculous. He wouldn't. He was crying, Veldora interrupted. Velzard stiffened. He was crying when he said it, Veldora repeated, his voice heavy with something indescribable. He was trying to endure the pain that came with those words. Silence stretched between them. Velzard, for the first time in a long time, found herself speechless. Then, Guy, a small voice broke through the tension. They turned to see Ramirez rushing toward them, her tiny wings flapping furiously. Her face was pale, her usually playful demeanor nowhere to be seen. Do something about Rimuru, she pleaded. Guy's crimson eyes narrowed. Where is he? Ramirez hesitated. I think he was at Tempest's entrance. Velzard's expression darkened. We came from that direction. We didn't see him. Only bodies. Only death. This is bad, Guy muttered. If he's gone and we don't know where he went, things could get a lot worse. A cold voice interrupted. Guy. They turned to see Luminous walking toward them, her usual arrogance absent. What's going on? She demanded. Guy sighed. No time to explain. Do you have any idea where Rimuru might go? Luminous's frown deepened. No. Silence. Then, wait. Ramirez's eyes widened. Maybe Ruberios. Luminous froze. The blood drained from her face. And then, no, she whispered. Guy's gaze sharpened. If he's heading to Ruberios, he's going to destroy it, Veldora finished. Luminous's hands trembled. Her people, her home, and, Chronoa, her body, sealed within the castle. If Rimuru went there, no, she whispered again, her voice shaking. Dino yawned. So what? Let him do whatever he wants. Rain slapped the back of his head. Idiot. Guy exhaled sharply. We don't have time to waste. Luminous clenched her fists. She hesitated. I can't leave. Guy frowned. What? Luminous swallowed. The slave collar. Everyone stilled. Rimuru's slave collar. A cursed artifact bound to her very soul. If she tried to leave, she would be crushed under its power. Velzard sighed. Honestly, what a pain. She lifted a single finger. Crack. The collar froze over. Shatter. It broke, crumbling into dust. Luminous gasped. That's it, she whispered. Velzard rolled her eyes. It was a weak seal at least for me. Luminous glared at her. Weak. It was suffocating me. Guy crossed his arms. You can complain later. Right now, we need to stop Rimuru before he loses control. Luminous clenched her jaw. Then she nodded. Without another word, Guy raised his hand. The air around them distorted. And in the blink of an eye they vanished. Their destination Ruberios. And the monster that awaited them. Back to Rimuru. In Ruberios. The sky above Ruberios stretched in a serene canvas, painted in gentle hues of twilight. The streets bustled with life, merchants calling out their wares, children laughing as they weaved between the crowds, and families sharing quiet moments in the fading daylight. The peaceful city knew nothing of the storm descending upon it. And then, in an instant, that peace shattered. A shadow tore through the sky, and with it came an ominous presence, suffocating the air like a noose tightening around every throat. The wind carried whispers of something unholy, something that did not belong in this world. Rimuru had arrived. The moment his feet touched the ground, an unnatural stillness swept across the city. Eyes turned toward the center plaza, where he stood, a specter of death draped in regal darkness. His golden eyes, once filled with warmth, were now hollow voids of endless malice. His fingers, entwined in silken threads, yanked hard, dragging Hinata beside him like a discarded doll. She struggled against her binds, fury burning in her gaze. "What the hell are you doing, Rimuru?" she hissed, her voice laced with venom. A twisted smirk curled on his lips. "You killed my people," he said, his voice dripping with quiet amusement, as if savoring every word. "It's only fair that I return the favor." For a moment, Hinata's mind froze, unable to process what she had just heard. But when realization struck, her body surged with renewed defiance. "No," she screamed, eyes wide with rage. "This city is full of innocent people. They had nothing to do with this." The streets erupted into chaos. People scrambled, their panicked cries filling the air as they saw the demon Lord of Tempest standing in their city. Mothers clutched their children, priests chanted prayers in desperate whispers, and soldiers rushed forward only to halt in terror as their instincts screamed at them to run. "Rimuru, stop this madness!" Hinata snarled, thrashing against her binds. "Damn you, I said stop." But he did not stop. Instead, he lifted her by her hair, dragging her face close to his. The pain shot through her scalp, but she refused to show weakness. She glared at him, unyielding, her body trembling not with fear but with undiluted, seething hatred. Rimuru's voice was a whisper against her ear, cruel and empty. "Did you let my people go, Hinata?" She felt his breath, cold as death itself. "Did you spare them?" His grip tightened. "Women, men, children," her breath hitched. "You, bastard," she spat. With a disinterested scoff, Rimuru released her, letting her collapse to the ground like discarded trash. The cold stone beneath her palms felt distant, her entire body rattling with fury. And yet, she did something she never thought she would do. She begged. She slammed her fists against the ground, her pride crumbling in front of the one man she loathed more than anything in existence. "Please," her voice cracked, "don't do this. You've won already. Just leave them alone. I'll do anything." Silence. Then, mocking laughter. "You'll do anything, will you?" Rimuru mused, crouching down beside her. His eyes gleamed with something inhuman. "Then bring them back." Hinata's breath hitched. What? "My people. Bring them back to life. Restore their homes, their families, the smiles on their faces. Make them whole again." His voice remained steady, eerie in its certainty. "Can you do that, Hinata?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. Of course, she couldn't. No one could. Rimuru smiled. "I see." He stood up, turning away. "Then your words mean nothing." He took a single step forward, drawing his black sword from the void. A sinister pulse rippled through the air, sending shivers down the spines of everyone in sight. "You know," Rimuru murmured, eyes lost in thought. "There was a little girl. Barely 5 years old." Hinata's blood ran cold. She was so small, so innocent. And yet, the world was cruel to her, he continued, his voice devoid of warmth. "You killed her father, her mother. I watched as she clung to my clothes, begging me to bring them back." Hinata tried to swallow, but her throat was dry. Her entire world was shattered, Rimuru whispered. And she did nothing but exist. The wind howled between them, as if mourning what was to come. "And so," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I will make them feel the same pain." His grip on his sword tightened, and his golden eyes burned with something unholy. Then, his voice changed. It was no longer just Rimuru's voice, it was something else. Something darker. Something that should not belong in this world. "I will make everyone in Rubrio suffer." The ground beneath them trembled. The sky darkened. And then, with a single step, Rimuru vanished from sight. And the slaughter began. Screams echoed into the night, swallowed by the abyss that had once been the heart of Rubrios. Limbs were torn from bodies. Souls were ripped from flesh. Terror bled into the very earth. A woman ran with her child in her arms, her desperate sobs shaking her frail body. Rimuru appeared before her, his presence suffocating. Without hesitation, his sword flashed, and the woman collapsed lifelessly to the ground. The child screamed, clinging to her mother's corpse. He left her there. Let her wail. Let her suffer. A group of soldiers charged him, their weapons raised in futile defiance. Rimuru did not move. They turned to dust before they even reached him. Their bodies disintegrated, their very existence erased by an unseen force. Hinata screamed, "Rimuru, you monster!" She struggled against her binds, watching in horrified rage as the people of Rubrios were annihilated. Her voice cracked, raw from screaming. "Stop, I'll kill you. I swear, I'll kill you." Her words meant nothing. Her hatred meant nothing. Rimuru turned toward her, and for the first time, she saw it. His eyes were no longer his. Where there had once been golden warmth, there was now a void of endless black. An abyss that devoured all light. His voice was no longer his own, it carried an echo, a distortion, something that twisted with an otherworldly resonance. Something inside him was awakening. And it was not Rimuru. Nothing remained of the once peaceful city of Ruburios. No prayers reached the gods. No salvation came, only despair, only pain. And amidst it all, Rimuru stood, watching the ruin he had created, the hatred he had carved into the soul of the one woman who once dared to defy him. Hinata, on her knees, bloodied and broken, screamed his name. A name that no longer belonged to the man she once knew. The flames of destruction devoured Ruburios, licking at the sky like an infernal chorus of suffering. The once pristine streets were now soaked in crimson, the bodies of men, women, and children scattered like discarded dolls. The smell of blood was thick, heavy, suffocating, mingling with the cries of the dying and the silence of the dead. And amidst the carnage, Rimuru sat upon a throne of corpses. The pile of bodies beneath him formed a grotesque monument to his wrath. His black sword, dripping with the essence of countless souls, rested idly across his lap. His golden eyes, now dark and empty, surveyed the ruin before him with a cold detachment, as if he were merely observing an art piece rather than his own handiwork. Across from him, Hinata Sakaguchi trembled with unrelenting fury. Her bound arms strained against the magical chains, her entire body shaking. Her nails dug into her palms, drawing blood as her rage burned hotter than ever before. This wasn't justice. This wasn't vengeance. This was pure, unfiltered cruelty. Her voice tore through the silence, raw and broken. You fucking monster. Rimuru tilted his head slightly, a slow smirk playing on his lips. Oh, is that what you see, Hinata? His voice was smooth, taunting, devoid of remorse. He leaned back slightly, resting his elbow against a corpse beneath him. Then tell me, what do you see when you look in the mirror? Hinata's teeth clenched so hard her jaw ached. I never slaughtered an entire city of innocent people. Rimuru's smile widened, but his eyes remained hollow. No, he murmured. You just did it on a smaller scale. Hinata lunged, screaming with rage, but the chains held her down, forcing her to watch, to listen, to bear witness to the nightmare he had created. Then, from the ruins, a shaking voice pierced the air. A woman, a survivor. She clutched a small child to her chest, her tear-streaked face filled with desperation as she stumbled forward. Her knees buckled beneath her, but still, she forced herself to kneel before the demon lord of Tempest, bowing her head so low that her forehead scraped against the blood-stained ground. Please, let us go, she sobbed, holding her child tighter. We don't want to die. My son, he's only 6, please. I beg you. Hinata's heart stopped. This was it. This was the moment that would determine whether Rimuru still had even a shred of humanity left. Rimuru exhaled slowly and stood, stepping down from his throne of corpses. His footsteps were soundless as he approached the trembling woman. He knelt before her, reaching out to cup her chin gently, tilting her tear-streaked face upward. Tell me something, he murmured, his voice unnervingly soft. He then pointed at Hinata. Do you know who that is? The woman flinched, her terrified gaze shifting toward the bound Holy Knight. Why yes, she's the captain of the Holy Knights. Rimuru's smile didn't falter. Did you know, she is responsible for all of this? The woman's breath hitched. What? She slaughtered my people. Rimuru's voice was slow, deliberate, as if savoring each syllable. Innocent people, just like you. The woman's lips trembled. And no. That can't be, the Holy Church protects us. Rimuru chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. And he whispered, am merely returning the favor. The woman wept. Her fingers clutched her child's small frame, her shoulders shaking violently. Rimuru let out a heavy sigh. But you know what? He released her chin, standing up. I'm feeling generous today. The woman's eyes widened as she looked up at him in disbelief. You and your child, Rimuru said, his expression unreadable, can go. A stunned silence followed his words. The woman clutched her child tighter, her sobs turning into gasps of relief. Why, you mean it, truly? Rimuru nodded. Yes. Run as fast as you can. Hinata's eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. The woman, too blinded by relief, did not hesitate. She bowed deeply, her tears falling onto the blood-stained ground. Then, with shaky legs, she turned, gripping her son's hand, and ran. Hinata's breath caught in her throat. Wait, snap. The moment Rimuru's fingers clicked together, the woman and her child vanished. No screams, no resistance. Just ashes carried away by the wind. Hinata's body froze. Her mind refused to process what had just happened. Then, it all came crashing down. No, her scream ripped through the air. She lunged, struggling against her restraints like a rabid beast, her rage blinding, suffocating, all-consuming. You bastard! You fucking liar! How could you? But her words were drowned out by laughter. Not mocking laughter, not playful laughter, but a deep, unnatural laughter, one that didn't belong to Rimuru. It started as a chuckle, then a choked sound, then, his body collapsed. Hinata's rage turned into horrified confusion. Her breath caught. What's happening? Rimuru clutched his head, his fingers digging into his skull as if trying to tear something out of himself. His body convulsed, a violent tremor racking through him as black, twisted veins began to spread across his skin. Then, black horns burst from his skull. His fingers elongated, claws sharpening like razors. Hinata's blood turned to ice. This wasn't normal. Then, he moved, but it wasn't natural. His body jerked upright, his limbs twisting unnaturally as he tilted his head in an almost inhuman manner. His golden eyes had long since disappeared, replaced with something wrong. Then, he laughed, but it wasn't Rimuru's voice anymore. Ah, so this is what it feels like. His tone was deeper, more twisted, more dangerous. I never thought Rimuru would actually lose himself, the voice mused, testing the way it rolled off his tongue. But I suppose, this works just as well. Hinata's breath hitched. Her mind screamed denial. Then realization crashed into her like a tidal wave. Someone, her voice trembled, something, took over his body. And at that exact moment, a portal of crackling ice tore open behind them. Guy, Velzard, Veldora, Luminous, Ramirez. They arrived, too late, and in that instant, inside Rimuru's subconscious, he fell, deeper, into an endless abyss, where there was no light, no warmth, no hope, just regret, despair, suffering, and a single, broken voice whispering into the void. I failed them all. I was useless. I couldn't save them. I couldn't protect them. I am nothing, but a fool. To be continued.